Hello Sim Gamers, welcome back to Let's Play Kerbal Space Program 2, Early Access, the Exploration Game Mode. So we're going to take a start looking at the upcoming missions. The next one, it says it's time to visit our nearest neighbor, the Mun. Establish an orbit around the Mun with an apoapsis less than 2,400 kilometers and a periapsis greater than 60 kilometers. Gives us a lot of science to do so. Hello, Director. I am wide awake and in rare form today. Why? Yesterday, I slept for the first time in a few days. Who knew a caffeine crash could provide such restful sleep? Anyway, I brewed some fresh pots for everyone in mission control so we can cut down on all that unnecessary blinking. With your help, we're going to pull off our first Mun flyby. Got a minute? Poke around the mission tracker. Carefully, though. Then come back and submit your report. Good luck, Director. Entering orbit around Kerbin is one thing, but being captured by the gravitational sphere of influence of another celestial body can be tricky. Use all your tools. Want to make sure your rocket has enough fuel? Pop open the trip planner in the vehicle assembly building. Stuck on your Mun intercept? A well-placed maneuver plan can make a world of difference. Set up a vessel with a probe core and an antenna with a minimum range of 68 gigameters around Joule. Director, I'm suppressing my excitement so hard, it's making me shake. Good luck. So we're going to go ahead and track this mission. We have not yet completed the buoyancy test, and we're going to probably be going green. We're concerned that some of the goo that gets dumped down the sink at the R&D center might be messing with the grass. It's too green, right? Take a quick peek and make sure we haven't made this place radioactive again. Spacewalking. Strutco wants us to strut our stuff around Kerbin. They've got an idea for a strut to keep our astronauts attached to a vessel while on EVA. Staying attached to the ship so you won't float away? Why did we think of that? Anyway, we need to give them a demonstration of untethered EVA so they've got some reference material to work with. EVA while in Kerbin orbit. And here it is, Sim Gamers, the Kerbal Lunar Orbiter. I'll go over the stacks that are available on here. If you want to watch the choices I made in the research tree and the assembly of this, that's going to be a bonus content episode you can watch separately. But I'll make sure to post a picture right here of the research nodes that I unlocked to make this possible. So this bottom layer of stages is just 3 rockets basically coupled together. There's no real staging going on. All 3 of these motors are going to run out of fuel at roughly the same time to boost up the rest of the rocket. And its purpose is to get through the thickest part of the atmosphere and get us a long way towards establishing an orbit around Kerbin. The booster stage then should be able to circularize that orbit, finish off any orbital maneuvers there, as well as boost us out and get us inserted into a trajectory that will take us all the way to the Mun. Then we use the last upper stage here. Basically, this is our kind of our main mission stage to do the maneuvers that are necessary to establish orbit around the Mun, leave Mun orbit, and return safely back to Kerbin with all of the science that we've been able to find along the way in tow. So with that, we're going to get over to the launch. And we have ignition and liftoff. Our surface speed is looking great. We're accelerating nicely. We're going to go ahead and begin pitching over to our 10 degrees here. And since we have gimbaling engines, this is a whole lot easier than it was last time. I'm just keeping this over until we get to 10 degrees, and then I'm going to turn SAS off. And we're going to let aerodynamics and gravity turn take care of the rest for us. Looks like our center engine is expending fuel faster than the other 2. But that's okay. We're about halfway through our burn time. Already raised our apoapsis to 1,800 meters or 18,000 meters. The surface speed approaching 500 meters per second. Any new reports? We have environmental data and samples from the atmosphere. So always keep an eye on this button and click it whenever it flashes at you. It'll tell you new situations to get new experiments in. Oh yeah, this is definitely sustainer territory. In fact, we have a little bit of thrust left and stuff in this candle. I'm going to go ahead and push it to 80 kilometers. And then get oriented for orbital insertion at the apoapsis. Once again, I'm going to wait until I'm about pretty close to the apoapsis. In fact, we have enough time now that I can use the maneuver node planning tool to create our orbital insertion maneuver. And I'm going to zoom out enough to be able to see what I'm doing here. Now we can fine-tune where this is going to happen to sort of change the parameters. And something about like that ought to work. Periapsis, apoapsis is good. So this tells us exactly when we need to start our burn. Required delta V 1,588 meters per second. 35 seconds to go. New science to get. We have environmental data and environmental samples, each worth 30 science now. And we're coming up on our burn time. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Center stage is gone. The exterior swivel stages are still pushing us along. They don't have much delta V left. And that is okay. Staging. Staging. Full throttle. And our booster stage is now doing its job of pushing this orbit into a circularized orbit around Kerbin. Always grab a quick save here and there because you never know. It is still an early access game. Things are looking good. Thing shut down. Let's see how we did. Looks like we haven't quite pulled it off. So we need to aim a little bit higher and just keep the engines going until this periapsis. There we go. Gets a little higher. Okay. So I had to do a little course correction. Maybe I didn't do enough of that burn. We've chewed up more of this stage's delta V than I had hoped, because now we need to plan lunar insertion. But before we do that, we're in a stable orbit, and I think we have some missions to accomplish, right? Establish an orbit around the Mun with an apoapsis less than, yep. Buoyancy, do that landing going green. EVA while in Kerbin orbit. Let's go ahead and do that. And we have rewards that we can return to mission control for, which is excellent. Okay, we are set to plan a Munner intercept. And usually, right about the horizon where you're first able to see the Mun is a good place to start planning. So we're going to grab this prograde marker and pull it out, and we can click on this and set this as my target. And that gives me some information, right? I can find out what the my orbital plane variation is. Looks like we're at 1.4 degrees off of the ascending and descending plane, so that's going to impact to some degree our orbit. But if we do something like that, we actually get ourselves a pretty nice intercept. (836 delta V). I want to take a look at something. Oh, but this has got plenty of delta V in it, I think. In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. As we expend the rest of the fuel in this booster stage, we're going to go ahead and ditch it quickly and activate the main engine. And she's on its way. Here we go. Now we are in space, using the most efficient engine we currently have access to. The Terrier is not the fastest engine in the world. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cutoff. All right, let's take it our actuals and see how we did. We were a little shy once again. So we have a little further to go to make this orbit that we predicted. Okay, that's it. Sim gamers, we are on our way to the Mun in episode 2 of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program to Early Access. So here we are, just inside of the Mun sphere of influence, or just outside. I'm going to go ahead and time warp a little further. We have new science experiments available. Mun high orbit science experiments. And now we are ready to set our maneuver plan to actually get us into orbit around Mun. It doesn't have to be anything particularly fancy. I just want a circular orbit about like that. And what are these mission parameters again? Greater than 60 kilometers. This is 1,000 kilometers. Less than 2,400 kilometers. Okay. So basically establish an orbit in Munner sphere of influence, which we have managed to do. Or we will have managed to do if we successfully complete this burn. We're still getting solar power. Our science inventory is quite robust right now. We have 90 units of samples, 130 units of data. So let's go ahead and get set to our target node for navigation and warp to our maneuver node. I wasn't quite ready for that. We're facing the right way and everything, right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Stop. Okay, it looks brilliant, and it looks like we were able to complete this primary mission. Can I lock that in place? There we go. So I'm locking that in place so I can see what the heck this maneuver is going to look like as I add more velocity and change this position. What I'm really doing is just in a single burn, I'm going to do as much work as possible. Both get myself a re-entry attitude set up at the same time as use the same burn to get my re-entry attitude configured while also departing Mun orbit. And that should do it. Last time I checked, 35 kilometers is about the right spot. So someone in comments before in previous episodes of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program 1 asked about why this was the most efficient way to do this rather than doing a burn to just barely leave the sphere of influence of the Mun and then doing another burn to control my approach to Kerbin. And the answer is there is no point in space in basically in orbit around the Mun. Since I'm currently orbiting the Mun, there's no point that I'm going to be further away from Kerbin than this escape burn. And since that effectively when I leave Mun's sphere of influence, I'll be at the I'm already at the apoapsis. I'm already at my apoapsis of my current orbit with respect to Kerbin. The apoapsis is the most efficient place to affect change on the periapsis. So since this burn is effectively the apoapsis of my current orbit around Kerbin, it's the best place to do all of the work that I can for maximum energy efficiency. And you can see it only takes 189 delta V to perform this burn. Whereas it would, cost more if I did other stuff. But with that said, let's go ahead and get ourselves fast forwarded to our burn. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. A nice, quick, full throttle burn. 4, 3, 2, 1, cutoff. We'll go ahead and do this and tune the rest manually. You can see our current Kerbin periapsis is 48 kilometers. I can just hit shift, add a little bit of thrust to bring this down to 35. Just like that. This burn is done and we are leaving the Mun with a whole lot of science and a bunch of missions in tow. Now all we have to do is hope that we can land ourselves on some water to complete that optional mission. 220 science in tow on episode 2, essentially mission number 3. I didn't even think to check Kerbal Space Center mission control to see if there were any new missions batched up that I could have accomplished along the way, like I did last episode. But that's all right. We'll go ahead and time warp out of here. Looks like we'll be coming in on the dark side of the planet. And while we're up and out this far, I'm going to go ahead and fling off. And while I still have energy and stuff in the capsule to do so, we'll go ahead and fling off this upper stage, or this, main engine stage. And get ourselves set up for re-entry. As the sun sets, we are coming into re-entry bingo. This is our primary re-entry interface from the Mun. The heat shield doing its work to keep our craft and crew safe. And you can see our orbital velocity is quite high, and this re-entry is already hitting the brakes. Previously it was doing it at 35 kilometers. This time it's doing it starting at 45 kilometers. We're really digging in now. Getting about 10 Gs of deceleration. So our trajectory just we're kind of hovering above the ground at 33 kilometers, slowly decelerating. That's amazing. As long as we slowly continue to lose speed, you can see our orbit is being impacted. We now have a ballistic trajectory. Donald Fisher posted this comment in the last episode. I would suggest not deploying the parachute until after the atmosphere is heating up. That's why you missed the ocean. I've always been setting the parachutes to deploy with the default values, and it hadn't occurred to me that they can be used as an active flight control until you mentioned something. I'll have to remember that deploying them earlier or later during descent gives me some control over where I put down. Thanks for the comment, Donald. So 35 kilometers is the perfect target to aim for when coming back from Munner orbit for a really nice, predictable and smooth re-entry. As we dig further into this deep atmosphere, we'll be applying more deceleration. Looks like we're in the kind of the coming up on negative 10 Gs possibly. All right, we are literally just barely getting over the shoreline and landing in the water. Actually, oh, yep. Yep, just barely. So we can at least accomplish our splashdown objective as well, getting that science in addition to what we've already accomplished in this episode. We're going to have a whole bunch of debriefings to go through. Bingo! Our vessel is recoverable, and we have a little bit more science to gather. Crew observations and some environmental samples, maybe? Landed Kerbal Space Center. Alright, nothing new there. Let's go ahead and recover our vessel. This mission time was a little time there. Highest speed overall, 3,070 meters per second. Made it all the way to the Mun and back. Mission control. Yes, we've cleared our mission board. Let's go through them. Mun or bust. Yay, you did it! You did it! As of this moment, we're leading the space race. Yes, ours is the only agency participating, but it's still an achievement. A swarm of reporters has been knocking down our doors. We're talking major press outlets. Space Weekly, the Kerbal Times, the Kerbal Astronomical Society newsletter, heck, even SAS Planet of SAS. Are you Kerbal? Because those reporters are revolving around you. So instead of having to answer them one by one, I just locked them in your office. Don't worry, Newton has found various flat snacks that can be slid under the door to them. Seems like they're making themselves comfortable in there, so no hurry. Meanwhile, we have more important work to do. Getting so near to another celestial body has only whet the agency's appetite for an up-close encounter. It's finally time to land on the Mun when you're ready. Mission Control will be waiting with your next mission. Mission completed. We've established an orbit. I love it. Science collected 150. We completed the buoyancy test. You floated! You kind of look like an ice cube in a big old cup of coffee. Luckily, our vessels don't melt. Well, at least not in water. Our recovery team was out there in full force today. Boats, helicopters, free swimming with floaties. You'd think they'd realize it's faster to use a boat than to doggy paddle a vessel back to KSC. I think they just wanted to swim, honestly. Nice. Going green. Nice. I have some good news and some less good news. The good news is that our environmental footprint is small. Our recycling is paying off. The less good news is that we found traces of radioactivity around the bathrooms. Either radioactive waste is getting flushed, or someone needs to see a doctor. We've had another talk with the R&D team about throwing things away in the correctly colored bin. In the meantime, they recommend limiting your hand washing time in the R&D lavatory to 10 seconds or less. And last, spacewalking. Excellent work. Strutco was very impressed with how easy it was to leave the safety of the vessel, so much so that they've canceled their EVA strut program. The company rep told us it would be a crime to inhibit such beautiful recklessness. Honestly, I think our demonstration made them question their career choices. I still think there's something to the idea of connecting the astronaut to their vehicle. I wish there were some other way to do it than with a rigid tube of aluminum. Oh well. All right, we have accumulated 489 science throughout all these missions, and we have a new set of mission ready to go in the next episode. Until then, I'm Sim Gamer, and this has been Kerbal Space Program 2 Early Access for Science.